everybody.
Hey!
We are back with X-Files by Moonlight, and we are finally going to be going through the whole show.
Yeah.
So this is the first episode, the pilot. It is called Pilot.
That is the title of the episode, Pilot.
Yes.
So yeah, we're coming into this from basically, I used to watch the show very casually.
Yes, you did.
And you were like addicted.
I was obsessed. Completely and utterly obsessed with
right.
it.
and I haven't seen it I've seen it randomly because of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't like hardcore watched it in a long time. And as I've said in previous videos, the show is kind of based on Kolchak the Night Stalker.
True.
Sort of a 70s a show about a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Who goes around like discovering monsters and aliens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that show was more traditional with the monsters. It was, more like typical normal monsters.
And it focused
classic.
more on, it focused more on the well, I don't know, X-Files focused.
It was totally
on
Monster of the Week. It was like a Monster of the Week, and X-Files has their Monster of the Week episodes too.
Absolutely.
And except they were just very basic, like vampire, werewolf, and they weren't like twisty. They were just basic werewolf,
True,
etc. And and I was I am like a huge fan of that show.
And I don't think I saw Kolchak until
probably when I gave you the DVD set.
You think?
You might have seen a little bit of it before.
I think I'd seen it previously, but yeah, I mean, and I love Kolchak, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and Chris Carter has said that it is inspired by Kolchak.
The character of Mulder especially.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's why I love stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
And how about you? Got anything to say about how you got into this?
How I got into this?
X-Files? Like why?
Honestly, I've tried thinking about that the past few days.
Was it just David Duchovny?
No.
Because some people it's just
David.
David.
It was not just David Duchovny. And even sometimes he's definitely handsome, but sometimes I would be, not as into him as I was or whatever. But no, I don't even remember what brought me into this show, but I'm pretty sure, I know I was in junior high, and I know that I was watching, so our television station did not get X-Files?
No, I think we did get
Or we did, and I just didn't start watching it until...
We did, it was on the Fox network.
Right.
And we got the Fox network in our area later, I think, than everybody else.
Okay.
Not as late as the WB. That one we got really late.
Yeah.
And other stuff we got so late. But at Fox, I want to say we got it later than everybody else. I could be wrong.
I don't feel like we had it in '93. I really don't feel like
maybe
we
not.
had it.
You know what? X-Files I think got syndicated pretty early. So when I started watching it, it might have already been in syndication.
Oh no, not at all.
No, it was still on. It was still new episodes. It was still a new show, but I feel like I was catching it.
Oh, you mean you were catching up with older shows? Well, that's because Fox would either our local station or National Fox would syndicate the previous episodes.
Well, that's what I mean. I think I caught it on I might have caught it on a different network, and
so
just
you
in syndication. But
you could check it out on previous you could check it out at different times as opposed to the current one.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, because we just saw the first episode. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
today.
We're going to talk about the first episode.
And I'm not sure I'd ever seen that one.
Okay.
The earliest one I remember seeing, which we'll get to later, was the one where he's going to, where Mulder goes to like a club that's like a vampire club.
3?
3 what?
Is that the one where he hooks up with the girl? It's called 3.
Okay, that's the title of the episode.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you meant season 3 or episode 3 or...
No, the episode is called
okay.
3.
Well, probably. He goes to like a club, and it's like a vampire club. That's one of the earliest ones I remember seeing.
Which means that's not even a Scully episode. Scully was gone during that time.
What season was that?
That was season 2, but that's when she was having her baby. That's when Gillian Anderson was having her child.
Okay, so maybe we got Fox Network at
episode.
season 2 point. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I do know that. I mean, I was constantly videotaping this show, and I feel like I was videotaping it off of Sci-Fi, or just or the Fox Network. I don't know. Maybe Sci-Fi never had it. Though I feel like there was another channel.
Sci-Fi probably had some marathons. I don't know, but yeah, you definitely. I know you were watching it when it was on Fox and tape.
Oh no, yeah, because I remember watching because I also really loved that 70s show, and in the later years they would show that 70s show right before X-Files.
Yeah.
Before that 70s show they would show Malcolm in the Middle before X-Files.
Wow.
So I specifically remember watching, I wasn't really that into Malcolm in the Middle, but sometimes I would catch the last...
I've never seen Malcolm in the Middle.
Sometimes I would catch the last 15 minutes of Malcolm in the Middle, and then I would watch X-Files. But, so the earliest memory I have is from watching it prior to the movie coming out.
That's when you started.
And I think maybe I saw that's halfway into the show, so I don't know. Maybe I saw the preview for the movie, and then I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. I gotta watch the episodes.
We both might have come into it pretty late. I might have come into it in syndication. I'm not sure, because I believe it got syndicated while it was still on and everything.
So the film came out in 1998. So that means we were watching. I feel
88 or 98?
98.
Yeah, this show was not on in 88. Okay.
Yeah, the film came out in 98, and I feel like I remember watching it. At least the season before that, so 97 X-Files, which would be, let's see, so season 5 was right before was right before the movie. So I guess we started watching it in season 5.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We probably got way too into that.
No, but I wouldn't know. Sorry if you guys tuned out.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, there you go. We didn't start from the beginning, but you, of course, rewatched everything.
I've been trying to figure
I know you got
out
all the show on DVD back in the day.
I had the show on tape, and I had my little synopsis in my X-Files spiral. All
written out.
And it was intense. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So.
I remember, I remember getting you a Mulder autograph for your birthday one year,
party,
which was off eBay. Probably, I didn't even know that was legit.
I'm pretty sure I either turned 14 or 15 that year.
And when I went to Disney World, I brought you back a poster of Mulder.
Yeah.
You got to show that sometime.
I know. I've got to bring that
poster.
poster
You got to dig that up. It was a really interesting poster.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a David Duchovny poster, and did it say? Did he have a shirt that said "I want to believe" or something like that? And he's hanging outside of a fence.
On the fence, yeah.
Pretty
he wants to get in the fence.
And I found that at the mall somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
But so we've been watching this show for a long time.
As I'm sure you guys have, or if you're just starting, that's fantastic. I think you'll love this show. It's a classic show.
Yeah,
so.
if you like conspiracies and aliens and monsters and things like that, and investigative stuff, but not to the CSI level, because I'm not into those shows. No. I'm not into those CSI type shows.
No, this is
more old school, where it's about the characters and all that stuff, and it's
and a lot of shows have been modeled after this show. I would say some more recent shows are, Supernatural was definitely modeled after X-Files.
A lot of
Supernatural
shows, and mixed with Buffy and a bunch of other stuff.
More recently,
what?
Sleepy Hollow, early episodes, the early seasons of Sleepy Hollow. So the X-Files started this whole big thing, and I remember. Okay, so I've been thinking about these fond memories. So
real quick, an interjection before you get to that. You brought up Sleepy Hollow in a previous episode of this show, because we just did season 11. We did all of season 11. We started our show with season 11.
Right.
But you mentioned Sleepy Hollow, and I know at one point we were talking about shows that should have ended because they couldn't keep the same actress, and so good point. That show was really good. Sleepy Hollow was really good.
It was so good.
And then they had, I guess the actress quit, the main actress.
Right, she quit.
And it's just like the show just jumped the shark. Sadly, after only like 2 seasons or something. That's real early jumping the shark.
And I had really
so sad.
I had really high hopes that the main character who played that Ichabod Crane could have carried the whole show, but it really was kind of a.
Well, they also I don't know.
They changed it a bunch.
They changed it so much. But anyway, you were to get
perhaps you could have finished.
You had some memories that you wanted to talk about?
Oh well, okay. So we didn't have a computer at home. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have a computer.
We got that pretty late, I guess.
Yeah, in the 90s. And so my sister, she had access to the school library, the university she was going to, and she would whenever she had to go over to the university library for research, she would ask me if I wanted to come along so I could play it on the internet. And so of course I did. And the whole time I was there, I just remember just the whole time X-Files stuff. I was just researching X-Files stuff. And I don't know if you guys remember the websites back in the 90s, but they were so choppy, and I mean they had Gillian Anderson's face over here and Mulder's face over here, and then the fan fiction. Let's just talk about the fan fiction. And some of that stuff got really, really steamy. Some of the MSR fan fiction. And so I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. I was like, I can't believe I was sitting in that public library. I was 13 reading this fan fiction. I wonder if they ever went back and let
as
people.
I've been a geek my whole life and into all kinds of geeky subject matter. I have never read fan fiction. I've never read fan fiction. And I've had people asking me to read their fan fiction, but I don't know. I just don't ever do.
I tried reading it a couple of years ago, and I felt awkward reading it, so I stopped. I was like, I feel really awkward. I can't read this anymore. I don't know.
When I found out my entire book collection of Star Wars books was not canon anymore, I sold them all. Because if it's not canon, then I just don't want to have it in my head.
But I mean, those books were standard books. I mean, the fan fiction I'm talking about is gratuitous.
Yeah. Oh, you mean
romance
So
stuff.
This was basically
porn? Yeah.
Yeah. See, I just looked at regular porn.
Pretty much. I was 13. I don't know what.
No, actually, cartoon. It was kind of like fan fiction porn because I like cartoon porn.
But the fact that I don't know, that's how people were getting their feelings out because Chris Carter would never show a scene where Mulder and Scully were kissing or anything like that. I mean, they weren't romantic for a long time, but people wanted that so badly. Half of the people. The other half did not want that at all. They did not want Mulder and Scully to get together. So anyway.
So you're talking about shipping.
Yeah, you have the shippers, which X-Files coined that term, the shippers, and then you have the no-romos. That's what they were called online.
That sounds so bad nowadays.
They were called online in the 90s.
Yeah.
They were called no-romos. Yeah.
That sounds so bad.
I don't even know if that term still exists.
I don't think that would fly nowadays. It sounds like other things.
They probably use anti-ship or something,
and no shipping
or something like that. No ship.
Anti-shippers.
Yeah. No romos though. That's what it was.
That's weird.
And I remember the chats. Going through the chat things and the boards, the X-Files boards, and people were just discussing the shows, and that's what you did. You would watch the episode, and then you would go on the boards right after and be like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
I used to be on Disney fan boards for a long time, and I had to stop because I always got in fights.
Oh no!
And it wasn't me. It was just other people being dumb.
Oh.
And I just couldn't.
I don't know if I ever remember any fights, but yeah, so that's how it was. So let's talk about the episode, the pilot episode.
The pilot episode.
What did you think overall?
Overall, it was excellent. It was an excellent show. I would pick up this show. I would put this show on my network.
It was really amazing for a pilot.
It was fantastic.
Really good quality.
And I will say, because of the subject matter, we talk about how there's 2 types of shows with X-Files. There's the shows that are very Monster of the Week.
And then you have the mythology
And they may or might not have the mythology. And then there's the mythology-heavy episodes.
Right.
And this episode, introduced the mythology.
Yes.
It was sort of a monster of the week, but it was kind of not, because it was a kind of monster. I don't want to give it away before we talk about it, but it was the kind of monster that deals with the mythology, and then they introduced the mythology with Mulder's story. He gives his story. And I just want to say, I didn't know they introduced that from the first episode. And I have to say, my bad for... I'm always saying that I prefer the Monster of the Week episodes because I'm coming off of Kolchak, as a big Kolchak fan, and that's a big part of why I'm watching. But I would complain a little bit about the mythology episodes, not because the characters had a story arc running through, right? But just because it wasn't like, I don't know, pulled away from the Monster of the Week. And
you love the Monster of the Week.
I love the monsters. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And
but you enjoyed this.
But then, as the show went along, it was heavier and heavier.
Right, it was
about the mythology where it was. I feel like there were seasons that were almost entirely mythology seasons, and like.
No, that's probably just because
it just felt that way. I guess
there were seasons where the Monster of the Week episodes were so not good that
maybe
all you remembered were the mythology.
Or the mythology was affecting the Monster of the Week episodes too much.
Maybe.
Like because certain characters were abducted or this and that or whatever, and it's just like. I don't know.
Well, I would say that, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I believe that the reason you feel okay with this episode is because you don't remember how this episode comes back to haunt Mulder and Scully.
Oh no, I don't remember that at all.
So looking, like if you're just starting to watch this show and this is the first episode you watch, then yeah, absolutely. You can see that it's establishing the characters, but you would probably think it's a Monster of the Week episode for you. But since I and other X-Files have seen all the way, till the end, you would know that this is considered a mythology episode.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
So.
And no, and what I was going to say is just like, I didn't realize, I kind of felt like they had taken over the show that was like a Kolchak type show and sort of taken it over with this mythology as it went along, just like getting the idea, hey, let's make this more about this than that, but I didn't realize that they did that in the first episode. I didn't even know that.
See, they had a light mythology thing going on, and I think the reason why it got heavier was because in season 2 Scully got pregnant and Gillian Anderson got pregnant, and so they kind of had to make her spoilers guys. Sorry.
I think a lot of real life stuff with the actors and actresses were causing
the mythology
to interject
change,
more mythology. And like with this one, the mythology stuff was just kind of slight.
Yes.
As far as you knew from watching it
as the first
time.
And
in regular Monster of the Week episodes, it doesn't bother me mythology to have it like slight like that. It's a running story, and I like that too.
Yeah.
I like having the running character.
It's also
development.
exciting to like know your characters and then go back and watch the first episode and see, oh my gosh, the cigarette smoking man was in it from the very beginning.
Yeah. I didn't know all that stuff. I hadn't seen this episode, or it had been so long.
It's fantastic. It is so awesome.
It's a really good episode. So, what happens in this episode?
Well, one more thing I was going to say is what you might like later on is that Darren McGavin is in a few
I know he's just one, right? Or more than one?
Oh, more than one. Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to have him play Kolchak, but they didn't. I haven't heard why they didn't, but instead, they had him play maybe the guy who invented the X-Files?
They had him play one of the two brothers that started the X-Files.
Oh, I didn't even know there were two people. Okay.
So, anyway, so the first episode, what happened in the first episode? Well, first...
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So the first scene is we are shown... Well, first of all, we don't get our credits. This episode does not have our X-Files credits. All it says is X-Files and kind of some creepy, spooky little...
Because it's just a pilot.
Mood music. And we immediately cut to, in Oregon, Oregon.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, there you go. Oregon. The plausible state of Oregon.
Is that up in the Northeast? Is that where Goonies was set?
Yes.
So it is like the Northeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
If
not, then we're idiots.
I've never been there. So
pretty sure.
I've been to Seattle.
Yeah, that's where Goonies was set, I thought.
Yeah. No, I think Goonies is in Oregon.
So. Okay, now you got me off track because now I'm thinking about Oregon Trail.
Anyway, there's an incident in Oregon.
Yeah.
And they. But is that what it opens with? Something with the incident happening?
Right. You see.
Or is it with Scully?
No, you see the cops coming and finding a body. They're investigating and they find a body
in the woods.
Yes, a body in the woods.
Typical in X-Files, a lot of bodies
and they
found in the
turn her
woods.
around, or she's already turned around, and they the chief of police, he checks her lower back.
Yeah, in her lower back
and
on the right
finds
side are
two little puncture wounds.
Yeah.
Which kind of look like bug bites, which will come into the.
They're two right next to each other.
Yeah.
Like a vampire. But
and he's like, what? And he says it's happening again, or one of the other guys says it's happening again. A class of '89. Apparently, the class of '89.
Was that you? Who was that?
That was not me.
Oh. Okay.
That was Monique, our sister.
Our older sister.
Yeah.
Was she '89?
I was class of 2004.
She was an '89. She was '89.
Yeah, I think so. Or '88.
Yeah, you were
one
2000. 2004. Wow.
Yeah.
I was 2001.
No, you weren't.
8. Okay, where are we? Go on.
So he says, yeah, it's happening again, and then we, I believe that's it, and that's where you would think that the X-Files credit music would come in, but it's not. So we cut to Scully walking in to the FBI building, and she's going to a meeting with Section Chief Blevins. What?
No, I like the way you tell the story because it's like you
I tried to video like DVR or what's it called?
I just imagine if like the people listening like have never seen the X-Files and you're telling it to them like, you know what I'm talking about. Scully walks in.
Because I love it.
She loves it. Go ahead.
I don't know how else to describe it.
No, it's great.
But yeah, Scully walks in the door. And okay, first of all,
Scully is a little female agent with red hair.
Yeah.
In case you've never seen the show.
Let's talk about her fashion and how she looks right now. Just right now, I want to talk.
She's not that little. She looks really short on the show, but these people are tall.
Gillian Anderson is super tiny.
Oh, okay. I guess Mulder's
tiny.
Oh, you know what? So Mulder's 6 feet tall.
Right, throughout the whole
But
show.
when I read it, the first thing I read on Gillian Anderson, I had the wrong height, and it said like she was 5'7" or something.
No.
Which is not super tall, but to me it's tall.
She's like 5'3" or 5'3", I think.
Yeah,
but
you're right. Okay. So she is small.
They kept having to put like a big crate so she could stand on it.
Oh, so she was standing on the crate. Because I was thinking she looks almost. I mean, not almost. She looks short, but compared
illusions.
to him. Okay, go on.
So let's talk about her fashion because it's the 90s.
These dresses awful.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But she looks beautiful. It's weird. Like I think she looks great, but she's in this horrible fashion. Like oversized suits. I don't know what it was about that era, but women wore oversized like zoot suits almost.
Yeah, horrible.
They didn't have anything catered to them or anything like that. Tailored. Catered. Whatever. Oh my god.
It's like a big. We live right on the highway. It's like fire trucks constantly.
Dun, dun. Her hair is like a longer shape. It's
Then what? What do you compare
than what she start. They start making her look older. They start trying to make her look older
because she lied to get.
She lied to get cast in the role. She was actually 23-ish, and they wanted a 28 to 30-year-old. And so I guess after the pilot, maybe somebody mentioned we need her to look a little more mature, even though she really does pull off being mature pretty well. I would definitely I would believe that she's 28 in the show.
Yeah. I mean,
a young 28. You know what I mean?
I can believe it. Yeah.
But they start in the next episode. We'll talk about. They start they chop her hair off a little more. They start doing like this kind of curly
But in their defense, they improve her outfits, don't they, at all?
They don't improve her outfits until season 4.
I was just taking a guess with that.
It was like season 3 to season 4. Yeah. No, they don't start improving anything. You guys can see her now.
Are you guys still watching?
Yeah. So she walks in and she's all confident and peppy, and it's really kind of sad to see her how she changed through the years. She just kind of got more and more depressed almost, but
yes.
in the early episodes she's very spunky and very very peppy, and
that's appropriate.
She walked in the FBI and she's smiling at everybody. She's hi. It's really interesting to see that.
And when they're she goes into the office of I guess the boss.
Yeah.
And
Section Chief Blevins, who will come into the mythology later on in future episodes. I can't wait for you to see that because it's really interesting. So Section Chief Blevins is
yeah, I noticed no Skinner in this episode.
No, Skinner's not around yet. No.
Okay.
So Blevins is putting her on assignment with Fox Mulder.
Basically they're have you ever heard of the X-Files? And the smoking man is in the room, by the way.
Yes.
But we don't know who he is. He's just a man in the room. We assume it's another FBI guy, and Scully also assumes it's just another FBI guy.
And let me just say that he was originally cast just to stand there in the shadows. He was not going to have any lines or anything like that. But I don't believe, I don't remember why they changed that. I think it might have had something to do with Scully's abduction later on.
What did they change?
They gave him a line.
I don't remember. What was it? I know he whispers a lot.
His first line comes in episodes later.
Oh, okay. They were just going to always have him
He
there,
was just going to be a guy lurking constantly.
It wasn't going to be a big plot or something?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Mm-mm. But it's interesting to see now that we know the plot. But so he's lurking in the corner, and it's really interesting because she looks at him in a way that it's oh no, because he's just lurking, smoking a cigarette, and she can immediately feel that there's something wrong about him.
Well, they're asking her about what she's heard about the X-Files, about Mulder, and she's kind of being snarky about it and trying to get lighten the mood of the room a little.
Right.
And it doesn't affect him at all. That's why she reacts, I think, a little badly.
Yeah. So basically, they have put her on this case because they want her to debunk the X-Files, and she even says that.
Not just on the case, right? Haven't they just basically reassigned her to the X-Files?
Yes.
So she's being assigned to the X-Files.
And what was the question you asked me?
What?
You asked me while we were watching this. You were is she supposed to? Are they just?
Oh, I was asking if it was if they were trying to get rid of her the way they did kind of with Mulder, I guess, Mulder wanted to be on the X-Files though, right?
He did, right.
Okay, but he's down in the basement,
But my answer to him was that no, they were trying to use her because she's becoming a star agent right now. She's a medical doctor.
You're saying it was just to debunk.
Right. She's a medical.
And I was asking, was it more than that? Was it is this some kind of conspiracy in a way already?
To get rid of her, both of them.
Or not just to get rid of both of them also, or maybe they've already got plans for her.
For her,
with the bigger conspiracy, but I guess they hadn't even written that yet.
No. Yeah, so she's a medical doctor, but she doesn't practice. She teaches at Quantico, the FBI Academy, and she's also a scientist. So they want to bring her in so that they can debunk the X-Files, so they can boot Mulder out of there. So he doesn't have a job and he's gone, because they don't want him looking into these cases,
So the X-Files, what they are, if you're a newbie,
right? They're
just all the unexplained type cases, and they basically just put them in a file and shoved them in the in a drawer in the basement, and that's the X-Files,
And Mulder found them, and he couldn't get enough of them. So.
Yeah.
And it ties in with his history, which we'll mention in a bit too. So they put her on the X-Files, and the next scene we see is Scully, the classic scene of Scully walking into Mulder's office. So exciting.
So why is this a classic scene?
So exciting. This is the classic scene because this is the first time they meet, and this is this is what everybody looks to see how young they were back in the day. And
that there's that line. There's nobody in here.
There's nobody in here but the FBI's most unwanted. Yeah.
I was gonna say the X-Files. The FBI's most unwanted.
The FBI's most unwanted, yeah.
So yeah.
And in season 10, Scully actually says that. Do you remember that?
I knew that I had heard it again. It was some kind of callback.
When the new couple of agents walks in,
right,
or knocks on the door, she says that, and it's a little joke. But so she walks in the door and she looks around and she sees all these posters of alien things, and it's just crazy. She's a little amazed by it. And then he turns around, wearing glasses, I might add.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so that was a little mistake that they made.
In the next to last episode of the entire, well, not the entire show, but
of season 11.
Of season 11, which was just aired like a week ago.
Yeah.
The next to last episode.
They were a part of the joke of that episode was
that they're getting older and Mulder all of a sudden needed glasses.
Right.
But here we are watching the first episode and he had glasses.
Yeah, so he should have been wearing glasses for forever.
But apparently they ditched the glasses early on. So anyway, so he's wearing glasses.
He's wearing glasses and he turns around and he's see, okay, I could quote this.
Yeah, don't quote
but I'm
the
not
entire
going to.
episode.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu.
I almost want to, but I won't. So she introduces herself to him and he's a little snarky.
Because he even tells her, like, you're here to debunk my work, right?
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
I was under the impression that you were sent to spy on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
if you want the exact quote.
I know, I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
And she says, oh, see, I can't do this. I'm going to be quoting this whole time.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have to give that. So anyway, so they meet.
Yeah.
And then they go on to a case.
Well, no. So they meet and they're kind of like, she's smiling at him and stuff. There's a little bit of fun, like, stuff going on. I mean, just meeting it, fun banter. And he's showing her slides of the case. That's of what they're going to go investigate in Oregon. And she immediately gets intrigued because of the compound that's found.
There was some chemical
inside
makeup
the bite or whatever.
Yeah, that was they couldn't explain it.
Not known to man. They couldn't explain it. So that's what she's intrigued about, and she's excited to go on the case and leave in the morning, and that's it. So then we see them on a plane.
And the plane starts freaking out like it's going to crash.
Yeah.
Which they never explained that.
Well, it's just turbulence.
And, well, I guess, everybody was freaking out on the plane.
Yeah.
And Mulder's just like there like he's all asleep or something.
And then he turns and looks at Scully because she's freaking out, and he says, must be the right place.
This must be the place.
Yeah,
must be the place. So they...
I guess it was supposed to signify that they were getting abducted or something.
There was something weird, it's a weird...
Like a tractor beam.
Like you're in the Twilight Zone now kind of a thing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I don't remember which scene exactly comes after this, but I know...
We didn't have to go scene by scene, but...
I know that they go to exhume the body. I don't know if they do that already or not.
Yeah, we should go scene by... I don't remember what happened next either. So they go in there and they're... Yeah, I guess they go see the body.
Right?
They must. Or are they burying the body? The next thing I remember is I know that they go to a funeral.
No, it's not a funeral. They're exhuming the body.
Okay.
So they're doing that, and they want to see what is inside the casket. I don't remember why. Now, see, okay, here's the problem with seeing this episode so many times. because when you watch it, you kind of like forget. I don't know.
Did they rush bury it? Is that what happened? They like
maybe.
Well, anyway, so they get to see the casket, and the police didn't want them to. I know that.
The police was fine. The police, they were fine with it, but the medical examiner drove up with his daughter, and he came out and he was like, "What are you doing? I don't want you, investigating the body." And
oh yeah, and that's the one that was the actor from Shock Treatment.
Yeah.
The new Brad Majors.
Right, the new Brad.
His name was on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it. He was also the father in Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
And he was in a really tiny part here, right? He was only in that one little scene. I feel like he was only in that one scene.
No.
Did he come in
again?
again?
Who are you thinking about?
Yeah, it was the guy who was like, "Well, we've been away, but he didn't want them examining."
You know who I was getting him mixed up with? Do you remember the show Son of a Beach? Son of the Beach.
Yeah.
Is that him?
No, he wasn't the guy.
Okay, he reminds me of him for some reason.
I can kind of see that.
So I thought that was him, but yeah. So he shows up with his daughter, and he's actually throughout the whole show. He's there throughout the whole show.
I did not notice him throughout the show. Okay, that's sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they leave because the daughter wants him to leave, and
so that's not the part where they see the body.
Yeah, that is. So Mulder and Scully go walk up the hill to continue exhuming the body, and they pull the casket out, and then the casket like topples over, and then it opens up, and then there's this like horribly
it's like an
strange corpse, but
it's like a mummified ape.
It's a mummified corpse that looks like it could be a gray.
No, dude, it looked like...
That's what Mulder's thinking. He thinks it's a gray, okay?
Oh, that's what Mulder's thinking?
Yeah.
Well, Scully gets it on the table and he's examining it.
Yeah, then we see Scully...
And she says exactly what I was thinking.
Right,
she says it's an orangutan.
But Mulder still doesn't believe that. He's
but
like,
I mean, it's got like, you can see the hair on the hands and you can see...
He wanted all kind of tests done.
Yeah, but okay, so this is early on the show, first episode. And Mulder is even more like... wanting everything to be something.
Right. Yeah. Because he hasn't had that person to challenge him. Yeah. He hasn't had that person to challenge him and question things and be like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
But what's also interesting is that in contrast to that, later on in the episode, we see Scully getting a little excited and almost feeding into Mulder's beliefs. And then he's like, wait,
and getting freaked
out
a few times.
He's like, wait, hold on. Are you sure you want to go into that?
Yeah.
And we'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, so it's interesting to see how these characters, evolve because
kind of need each other.
Yeah, they do need each other because they balance each other out as far as investigations go.
So
after the autopsy, or not an autopsy, but the investigation.
I don't want to jump ahead, but at least later you should tell me this because she says it's probably an orangutan. It seems to be an ape. Do they ever say, "Oh, this body was switched out with an ape body," or was that like something that happened to the human?
They never say that, but they imply that that's what happened to the human.
It sort of got de-evolved or something. Interesting.
Because of all the tests that were done on the teenage body. That's what happened to it.
It devolved into some kind of ape.
It just shriveled up. It looked like it just.
But it also was like hairy, and it had like an ape proportions and stuff. Interesting. Okay, so.
But that was just Mulder's conjecture. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
That's
so
what he was coming up with. So.
Still possible it was switched out with an ape body.
They never said that. I don't know. They didn't really explain that.
I think they switched that body out with an ape body. That's why.
maybe.
Okay, go.
So,
where do you get an ape body? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
So, where do we go from here? Let's see.
They were examining the body.
Right.
And then, were they back at the hotel room? A lot of hotel room stuff.
They were back at the hotel room.
She found inside the nose of this ape-like
But they don't mention
corpse.
it until we're in the hotel room.
No, we see her take it out of the nose.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she got a thing and
Oh
took
my
it out of the
goodness.
nose.
I don't remember
And
that
it was
at all.
some kind of implant, you know, the whole implant thing, but it was like a little metal thing. Or they do x-rays on it. I don't know if she took it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they just took x-rays and they found it on the x-rays.
I think so.
But at some point she took it out of the nose.
Well, no, I think what happened is that we cut to her in the hotel room and she's writing her report and she holds up the thing in the little container that she has, and she's looking at it on the x-rays also.
Okay, so she did take it out of the corpse's nose.
So I guess they're implying that.
So anyway, so she's in the hotel room and she's got like all the x-rays and she's looking at them and
it's just more character development. Mulder knocks on the door and he's like, you wanna go for a run?
And here's okay, so in our past episodes of this show, we were doing a shipper count.
Yeah.
Do you still want to say that for the end, or you just want to say it as we go?
Oh no, we'll say it at the end. I think we need to compile it at the end. Yeah.
Okay. Well, because that first time I think there is one, but we'll get to it at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
So
go on.
so he comes in and invites her out to run, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to." So the next morning, I believe that they found another body, or did they not? I don't remember.
I guess they go. I know they go to the hospital to talk to. There's a girl that talks to them, and she's all scared.
Right, that's Teresa Nemens, and you don't.
Is that later?
That's
or is
later.
That now?
I think what she. Okay. So this is. They ended up going to the hospital to check on Billy Miles and Peggy Odell. And Billy Miles is one of the teenagers who is in this cult that Scully thinks is going on. She thinks there's a cult.
She thinks it's a cult. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's a group of teenage friends.
Right.
And they're the ones that this has been happening to. They've been turning up dead with these two little bites.
Yes.
Bites. I'm calling them bites because they're like mosquito bites, but they're not. And these little holes in their back. And this one kid is. He's like in a vegetable type state.
A vegetable state, yeah.
Yeah, he's just totally out of it. He's in bed in the hospital. And did they say that was his sister?
No,
or
just
his
a friend.
girlfriend, or just
I don't
a friend?
remember exactly, but I think she was just a friend.
In a better state, but still kind of brain
She was in a
scrambled or something.
wheelchair.
She was kind of acting really weird, right?
Yeah, but she was also mainly just in a wheelchair, and
but she was
reading to him and everything. She understood what was going on.
Not out of it, but she was acting loopy.
Because Mulder said he wanted to have it her checked for.
But even before that, she was like reading to him, but she was kind of acting weird. I thought she was acting weird.
Anyway, when Mulder, by the way, let's just say that Mulder needs to work on his
whispering.
Yeah, because this girl's right here, and he turns to the doctor and says, "Can we have some tests done on her?" I mean, like something like that.
He didn't say and it wasn't that bad, but they were walking away.
It was almost as bad.
They had turned away, and then he said, "I'd like to do some tests on her."
Yeah. And then she hears this and she freaks out. She falls on the floor, and then Mulder kind of like lifts her shirt up a little bit on her back and sees the two bumps.
Marks.
And Scully, of course, freaks out because she's not used to seeing this kind of stuff. And she's like, "What? What's going on?" And so...
she's getting more impressed, with Mulder.
She is getting more impressed with Mulder, and she walks out, and I love this scene because she walks out of the hospital, and Mulder follows her. And let me just say that Mulder, throughout this whole episode, you're really establishing his sense of humor, because his sense of humor is ridiculous. He's just like, he's got no filter. And he just makes the crudest kind of jokes and
like
stuff.
Earlier when they found the body.
Yeah,
he makes a joke right there. I feel like the kids wasn't the dead kid's dad right there.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay. I thought he was because
he said he wasn't going to make the basketball team because he was so
Because it was a short body.
Yeah. So his humor, I mean, he's really...
And then he laughed like right at his own joke right there.
Yeah.
It was funny.
He's supposed to kind of be a jerk. I get this like sometimes. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't get a big jerk idea
really get that,
or like vibe off of him.
Only that awkward moment, but that happens to everybody.
He's supposed. He kind of has some. He's kind of conceited sometimes. But it's early on. It's funny because as the show evolves, he is less and less conceited because he's just humbled by everything that happens to him and like the horrible things that happen to him, which is really sad.
Well, he's very Kolchak-like in his like.
Right.
You know, like nobody likes Kolchak, but Kolchak knows that he's right about so many things.
Exactly.
And it makes you think everybody's an idiot.
Exactly.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
So they took that right out of Kolchak.
Not to mention he's like freshly out of school. I mean, he's not freshly out of school.
Yeah, and it's like what school is it?
Oxford.
Oxford.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he was considered like the best investigator in the criminal section and all that stuff. So, but he has been down in this basement for a couple of years at least, I think.
Yeah.
But so back to the scene, he rushes after Scully to see why she looked so upset, and Scully was like, just cut the crap, because she knew that he was not telling her everything. But the reason why Mulder's not telling her everything is A, because he doesn't think that she's ready for this kind of stuff, and B, he doesn't trust her yet. And it is so obvious in this episode about how he's like battling internally whether or not he trusts her, which is really hard to deal with when you've seen, future episodes and they're like, he trusts her more than anyone.
Yeah.
But, so we also get another classic shot during this scene. It's a lot of people look back at this photo. It's of Mulder looking at Scully, and they're having their little confrontation outside, and they're just discussing the case and how she doesn't believe what he's saying and all that stuff. So I think that after this we end up going to the forest. I believe they go to the forest after this. And they're trying to see if there was anything going on around that area.
And that's
they were in the
where, did they find anything there? Before they're stopped by...
Scully finds some sort of substance on the dirt, on the ground.
Oh yeah, and she puts some in her pocket there.
Mm-hmm. And they're stopped though by, we'll find out that it's the father of Billy Miles.
But it's like isn't he
he's like
sheriff
the
or something
chief
like that?
or the sheriff or something like that.
And he kicks him out of that.
He kicks him out of that area. Yeah, I guess
because it's private property. So. Yeah.
But he's trying to keep the kids safe.
Oh, he's
trying to keep it hushed.
There's a big secret conspiracy or something going on there. They're keeping everything hushed.
I think they're just trying to protect the kids. I think those guys are. The parents are just trying to protect the kids. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because the whole time I was very suspicious of them. Like they were doing.
Yeah.
They were acting like they were doing something, but
I don't think the parents know what's going on, and they don't want to accept that it's aliens or something, and they just want to protect their kids. But unfortunately, these kids are dying off, more and more. So they go to the forest, like I said, and they get kicked out. And then we see them driving in their car, and Scully pulls out the dirt and says that this was all over the ground. And so they're going to go have that examined. But I believe what happens is they take it back to the hotel.
I think this is when that other...
We might be getting this out of order, but...
No. I think this is when that other girl shows up at the hotel.
A girl doesn't show up at the hotel.
Where does she show up? When she finds...
Oh, she does. Yeah. So, but I feel like we're missing something. But either way, they end up going back to the hotel.
Is this... Okay, there's the part where Scully is showering and everything or something, and she finds out she's got...
Oh, yeah.
Is this before the girl shows up?
Yeah, that's before the girl shows up.
Okay, so she's...
Oh, that's what happens. Yes, you're right. So we're back at the hotel, right? Yeah. Go ahead. Do you want to talk about this?
Okay, as much as I can. She's, I guess getting ready for bed or whatever, just showering. Mm-hmm. And she finds some marks on her back.
Yeah.
She rushes over to Mulder's room in the motel,
and the lights are all out, the electricity's out because there's a huge storm going on, so it's kind of like a little romantical.
Do all Canadian hotels
have fireplaces?
Yeah, I know it's supposed to be in Oregon, but they filmed this in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and there's fireplaces in the hotel in the room. I mean, these are like a cheap motel.
These are
right?
cheap motels, and it's so cool. I love it.
We don't have that.
I would love that.
Cheap motels around America, but
no.
Anyway, so she's like asks Mulder to look at her back, and she like takes off her robe, and she's like pretty much.
And I love how Mulder's just like, "What's happening?" at first.
Well, which anybody would be like, "What's?"
And she's like, "Hello, look at me."
Yeah, but she's got 3 of those marks.
Yes.
And he looks at them and he says, "Oh, they're mosquito bites." He said, "I got some too." And then she like turns and like puts her head in his arms,
because she's so freaked out by this,
Yeah.
And then that's when she asks to sit down, and so she sits down, and he sits down with her, and then they just start talking all night long. And this is when Scully and Mulder first have like a talk about Mulder's history and why he's in the X-Files, and the sister.
No, that's the whole thing.
Yes.
It's his sister. Well, you should tell this. His sister was abducted. He believes abducted by aliens.
Right.
While he was a kid.
His sister. It was when I was watching the scene, I was like, oh wait, are they not gonna go into the fact that there was a bright light and everything? But he eventually goes into that.
He does talk about that.
But initially he just says that she disappeared from the room.
She was 8 and he was 12.
Right.
And she just disappeared, and there was a bright light outside or something.
There was a bright light, and they couldn't find any trace evidence, and they have no idea what happened. So ever since that day, he, obviously he's been searching for her. So he went to school in England, and he came back, and he went to the FBI.
But also, at some point, he was saying he read everything he could about any kind of
found the X-Files.
Unexplained stuff. No, this was before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was right after his sister disappeared. I don't remember when it was, but he just said he read everything he could about unexplained stuff and everything. I think it was before he found the X-Files, but maybe not. But anyway, so then he got into the X-Files, yeah. After he got out of school.
And he also, to tag on to that, he also said that he had been trying to access, before he went any further with his conversation with Scully, he kind of caught himself, and he was like, oh wait, like mentally he was like, I don't trust her, you know what I mean? Because then he said he had been trying to access some classified information, and he couldn't get any access to it, because somebody in the government was stopping him. And Scully was just like, well, what? What is it? And all this stuff. And he said, the only reason I've been able to further my work is that I have made connections in Congress, which we'll see his connections later on.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Which is really interesting. Because Mulder does come from a high society family.
Really?
Yeah. Like he grew up in...
yeah, I don't remember many details about their families. Well, with Mulder, it got so complicated, which, we'll get into that over the, episodes, but... He
grew up in Martha's Vineyard and all that stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, he comes from...
Well, yeah, he went to Oxford.
Yeah, exactly.
And then,
but he...
Yeah, and Scully, I just remember that she has a dad
who's in the military. She's a military brat.
And that they're Catholic, and that's all I remember about Scully.
Yeah. So he tells her that... He literally looks at her and he says, you're part of that agenda. Like he came out and said it,
Yeah, and she's like,
and
no.
she's just like, I'm not a part of any agenda, and she's defending herself, and yeah. So I mean, and then he gets almost flustered and starts telling her, he's like, I'm telling you this because you need to know. But this is really sad. I don't remember what he tells her. What does he tell her there?
I don't remember anything at that point except for.
I think he just tells her that he's trying to there's stuff that he's getting so close to the truth about the government, and I don't know, and that he.
Does he say the truth is out there?
No, he does not say the truth is out there. But
the main thing I took from that conversation was that he told her about his little sister and everything.
Well, and all the conspiracies that he's looking into. And Scully really sees his intensity there, that he's really passionate about this. And then their conversation is broken by a phone call. And the phone call is from a woman who's frantic, and she's saying that Peggy Odell, the girl in the wheelchair at the hospital, has died. Okay. So that's when they get called to the highway, where she had just run into the highway.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, we mentioned she was in a wheelchair, so she shouldn't be able to do this. And she got hit by a truck, I believe.
Yeah. And Mulder looks at her back, and she's got those 2 marks.
Mm-hmm. And Scully, we didn't notice that. We didn't mention that. At one point, when Mulder and Scully had just arrived in Oregon, they were driving in their car, and Scully and Mulder were having a discussion, and all of a sudden the radio goes wonky, and he takes out a can of spray paint, and he stops the car, and he spray paints an X on the ground.
Right.
That's when Scully's like looking at him, and she's just like, "You are nuts," you know. Like you're slowly seeing all of these things happening that she's realizing.
Yeah. And it ended up that what ended up happening was they were driving down that road again.
Yeah, and this is once again we skipped this part, but at one point I believe when they were coming home from finding that dirt on the ground, they were driving on the highway, and
they experienced lost time.
Yeah, he looked at his watch, and then afterwards,
they had lost like 10 minutes or something.
Which
and they pull over.
Imply they were abducted?
And he gets all excited. And yeah, as my understanding about lost time is, it means you've been abducted.
Or does it mean that somebody in the vicinity has been abducted?
No.
And the other people are losing time as well.
Like, I used to be like Mulder when I was like in school.
Yeah, I know.
And I would read, for their sake. I was just saying, I used to read all this unexplained stuff. And my understanding of lost time is that basically it's like, you go under hypnosis and you find out that 10 minutes or whatever, you were on a spacecraft or something, and that hour or whatever you were gone, because I think it was usually like that.
From the things that I've read, that's what I understood also.
But here they kind of played it like it was just a weird like phenomenon where just time stops for whatever reason, and or somebody has the power to stop time, which that was not very.
No,
that's what I heard Mulder explained it that way, though.
The impression I got was that they experienced lost time, but I didn't get, but in a way that somebody was being abducted around there, and that's
he was saying that it was making time stop,
right?
Which is not.
Well, he said lost time. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the way he explained it made me think that they were interpreting it differently. But
I don't think so.
Anyway,
back.
So at what point does that girl turn up and they end up talking to her?
Hold on. So Scully is looking at the body of Peggy Odell, who just got run over, the girl in the wheelchair, and she notices that Peggy's watch stopped a little after 9. So that is the exact time that Mulder and Scully experienced lost time as well. So while she's seeing this, then we see Teresa Nemmons, the girl who had called Mulder and told her about Peggy Odell. Teresa Nemmons, she runs in and she's frantic and, no, that's not correct. Sorry. So after that, they go back to their hotel and they find somebody set their hotel room on fire.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Somebody set their hotel room on fire,
somebody set the hotel room on fire.
And they also destroyed.
It burned all the
evidence,
all the X-rays and everything.
Mm-hmm, the X-rays and pictures, and they also destroyed the body in the morgue as well.
Oh,
mm-hmm. Okay. They found that out too, and that's when Teresa Nemmons runs up to them and says, "You have to protect me," and everything.
Okay.
And so.
So then they're in a diner talking to her, and she's saying how she was part of that group of friends that they were just having like a graduation party out in the woods, and they got abducted or something.
Well,
was it lost time or something happened to them?
She didn't mention that. Actually, Billy Miles mentions that.
Well, then what was she saying happened?
She's just saying that they were all friends, but that she's getting that she also has the marks, and she's worried that she's gonna get killed also because everybody's dying off.
And at some point they go in and see the kid in the hospital, and he's got dirt on his feet, even though he's supposed to be vegetable.
Right. At some point they do that as well, and so that's when. But while they're talking to Teresa Nemmons, the father walks in, the father of Billy Miles, and her father walk in, and they take her away. So you can really tell that they're trying to hush something up here. Yeah. And so they end up going to the hospital and seeing Billy Miles with the dirt on his feet, and that's when Scully walks out of the hospital and says, "I can't believe it. That kid might have killed everybody." And Mulder's like, "Wait a minute, hold on. Like, do you know what you're saying?" And then she's believing what Mulder is saying,
Yeah.
But he's just like, you have to write this down in your report. And then she's like, "Oh, okay, wait." And it's just another example of how they balance it. So Mulder and Scully end up going into the woods again, and at the very end of this episode, and they come across Billy Miles in the woods offering Teresa Nemmons up to these aliens. And of course, we don't see any aliens, we don't see an alien ship. All we see is a bright light. And the whole thing is a bright light. Like, that's what they keep saying. And so the bright light is there, and it looks like it's gonna, beam Teresa Nemmons up, but it doesn't, and it just kind of leaves them, and I really would love to know why. I don't know, I guess they were just done with them or something.
Yeah, well, I thought it was because there were so many people around or whatever,
Maybe.
Because Scully and Mulder
were there, and the father.
And that it just decided, okay, I'm gonna move on.
I don't know, maybe.
Because after that, the kid snaps out of his state,
He snaps out of it, and Teresa Nemmons is fine. And
their little marks disappear.
They do, yeah.
So it's like, obviously, they got away now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was why. I just assumed it was because there was so many witnesses.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, the jig is up. Let's get out of here. Yeah.
So one of the last scenes we see after this is when Billy Miles is being questioned by local authorities, perhaps, about his experiences, and he's just explaining that the first time that it happened was when they were at their graduation party in the woods, and they were celebrating graduation, and that's when they were all abducted.
Right.
I guess.
Okay.
Now, while he's being questioned about all of this, there's a two-way mirror.
Oh yeah, this was like.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Because this is back in the police.
And Mulder's in there.
Mulder is in there with the kid. Scully is behind the mirror with the cigarette-smoking man and Section Chief Blevins, and
which was very like an important thing, showing like
the
division between Scully and Mulder at this point.
Mulder looks over.
He kind of looks at the glass with like a look
and
like.
She I
know
catches
I know
look.
You're
it's really
on that
crazy.
Side there with the others.
It's crazy. So he still like does not.
Yeah, it ends there where there's like you can tell he's not trusting her, and maybe he shouldn't.
But at the same time, the last scene that we see is Scully in her bed.
Whoa, wait. When is she talking to the?
Oh, you're right.
Okay, so they start to question her. They take her in the office, I guess, or is it right there? I don't know. And what, Blevins? Is that what you said?
Section Chief Blevins.
And Smoky Man, and they're like, so do you have any evidence? Because, she has given them her report and all that. And, or she keeps telling them the stuff that happened, and they keep saying, but like, you have no evidence. You have no evidence.
There's nothing substantial.
Because it all burned up in the hotel room.
She keeps saying that nothing in her report. She admits it. She's like, I don't have any conclusion. I don't have anything substantial about what happened here. Nothing in my report is professional. Really, it's all kind of personal. And so, they just.
But when they keep like acting like they're almost making it sound like
her.
She's gonna be in a lot of trouble because she has no evidence, and then she pulls that little thing that she had pulled out of the nose of the first corpse, and she says, "I had this in my pocket when they destroyed all the other evidence."
So they confiscated it.
They had
which
to just
probably wasn't a good idea.
But
she's not aware of that yet, so
they had to just like leave her alone. Then though.
It's interesting because in the later episodes, there's no way in hell that Scully would have given them that. They keep everything.
But she did good as it is, just to have kept it in her pocket.
Yeah, I'm glad she did. I think that was just luck though.
Yeah. Probably.
But then she walks out of the office, and then there's another important shot of her walking past the cigarette smoking man, and he kind of just ignores her. He doesn't even like give her another look. But then she turns around and looks at him like, there's something going on.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very important shot, to see that. Then later on, we see Mulder calling Scully late at night, and he says that they got rid of all of their paperwork or all of their files over in Oregon. So they were like hushing up everything.
They cleaned everything
up. And I'm wondering if the reason why Mulder decided to trust her was because he read her report. And maybe he realized that she was really giving an honest report and wasn't like hushing anything up herself. So that might be something.
And then the very last shot is very Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, it is.
It's the smoking man, and he's got that little device, and he takes it and puts it in like some kind of warehouse that they have in the Pentagon. And like they even show you like on the wall is a map of the Pentagon, like an escape route.
Yeah.
And so you can basically see where supposedly this room is.
It's amazing.
Where they're storing like tons and tons of like secret files.
And this room comes up quite a bit in later episodes.
And
too.
that's where he puts the little device in the middle of all this tons and tons of like filed evidence.
So it's a great episode.
It's a really good episode.
It was just really great.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to mention when you said cigarette smoking man, I realized
he didn't smoke in this, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
he
okay.
was smoking, but he wasn't called cigarette smoking man yet. The first mention,
Man in the Shadows or something like that.
No, the first mention the first time that Mulder gives him like a name, he calls him Cancer Man.
Oh.
So he's called Cancer Man for a while, or maybe just a couple of episodes, and then we started calling him Cigarette Smoking Man or CSM, or Satan. Yeah, I mean, overall, such a good episode for a pilot.
Excellent episode.
I was just really happy with it. I loved watching that episode, and it's so nice to see them start out together and meet each other and everything.
Yeah, that was definitely when you think about TV pilots and how they can be.
Yeah.
This was a really good TV pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it borrows from a lot of things. You know, Kolchak is like a big inspiration for it.
The mood is very Twin Peaks-ish.
That ending was totally Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it put it together and it was really good. Yeah,
it was very
fantastic.
Nice. So I'm glad they cast Gillian Anderson because they weren't going to initially cast her. They didn't want her. They tried to bring in a bunch of other actresses to outshine her in the audition, and it was very brutal. She explained the whole process earlier, but yeah, it was.
When it ended, I was like wanting to watch the next episode.
No, we totally do, and we totally will tonight.
Well, maybe.
Yes.
We got more videos to shoot, but maybe.
Yes. So, shipper moments?
Yeah, and my battery light is blinking, which means we're almost done with this episode.
So shipper moments, really quickly.
Two come to my mind.
Okay, what are your two?
They might be the only two. The first time they're in the hotel room, and he asks her if she wants to go jogging.
Yeah.
And she just her reaction when she's like, "Who's there?" and
she gets a little.
I forget
giddy.
what he says.
He says Steven Spielberg.
Oh, and then she was like,
yeah. Like she loves his sense of humor. She really does like him. The fact that he asked her to jog, I don't like if I had just met somebody like and it was my partner, I would not ask somebody to jog. I would like go jogging by myself. So
that's another kind of just anything to you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what was the other one?
The other time in the hotel room where she's like, "Can you check my bug bites?" And,
and
then
like
she just
strips.
turns, "Ooh," which I know was. I mean, again, when we talk about shipper moments, this is like in like
this is like 13-year-old girl shipper
like
moments.
fangirl
type
thing. But like, you know, they might not really mean anything, but if you were watching as like a little fan,
well, I like before
shipping fan.
Before he investigated her little area there, like when she took off her robe, he was like checking her out. He was like, wait.
I don't generally like Scully, but in this season, yeah.
Yeah, like he was legit checking her out. I mean, she had to be like, hello, like these. But I would say another shipper moment for me was when they were out in the rain together, and this little this scene is used a lot in a lot of shipper music videos that people splice together and stuff. And it's the scene of them laughing together in the rain when they're joking. Like Mulder comes up with his theory about what's happening, and Scully is actually like feeding into it and kind of like playing off of what he's saying, and she's like, oh yeah, and then he did this, and then she did this, and all this stuff, and they're getting so excited about it, and then they just start laughing because she starts laughing because it's so ridiculous, and he starts laughing. And they get a little close in that scene and stuff, so that's very shippery. Besides that, just like their cute little banter. I mean, there's a lot of that in this episode. They're getting to know each other, and it's adorable. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So there was just those two, pretty much.
And the rain one.
Oh, the rain one. Three.
Yeah, three. I would say. If I were still 13, I'd probably come up with a million for you.
Oh, really?
Probably. But
yeah. fantastic episode.
So good.
Definitely.
We're so ready for the next one.
Makes me want another one immediately, yeah.
Yeah. What do you, I mean, it does. It makes you crave it, right?
Yeah, and that's like the best kind of shows. It's like those shows where you want to, without even having to have a cliffhanger.
Exactly.
You know?
You want to see the next one.
That's the thing. See, a Monsters of the Week episode or of something like, or any kind of show where it's just like random, like a Monster of the Week kind of thing. If you're still craving it afterwards, you know, that's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, totally.
It's like, it's not just a matter of I want to see what happens to them next. It's just, it was a lot of fun. And I want to see another one.
Did you notice how their acting was way more like flamboyant? And they even say this in interviews. They were like, when we were in those first few episodes, they were like, their voices were like way higher and way louder and stuff because they were still trying to find themselves and stuff.
I didn't notice that as much. I noticed that they were more youthful.
Very energetic.
Youthful and
very
energetic.
and youthful. Especially after seeing season 11. I mean,
it's like, yeah, it's different.
It is different, isn't it? It's different. Do you think it's different in a good? Well, I mean, I love season 11, so
season 11
it's
is
different. They've just gotten older and they've grown and stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, it works totally. I mean, this is you've been watching the show for this many years, and you expect it fits.
Absolutely.
It's fitting. It's very fitting. So yeah, that's
all right. So we're gonna be doing this twice a week.
Well, we're gonna try
to do it twice a week. We'll see.
and we'll see how we fall into it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll
so that we can move along with the episodes. But you guys should watch the episodes.
We're also doing a Sailor Moon show like this starting right now. So
we are.
So that and we have Disney by Moonlight, where we talk about Disney parks and Disney movies. So
and other Disney things.
Anything else might come up.
Yep. So we have a lot of videos coming up.
Yeah.
So comment and subscribe and like, but please be sure and comment because I really want to know what you guys thought of the pilot episode of X-Files. It's very important to me and to you.
Yeah.
It's important to all of us. So
yeah, I'd love to read people's comments.
Newbies, new fans, old fans, anything. Yeah. So,
and I do a lot of random stuff too. I do.
Oh yeah.
And we do movie reviews together. If we go see a movie, we'll review it. And I sometimes do haul videos and things like that.
That's right. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
So yeah.
All right. So we will see you with the next episode. Yay.
Later.
Bye.